2016 at Integris Baptist Hospital in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Trey was 33 years old at the time of his passing. He was born on January 12th, 1983, to Clifford Gordon Reese Jr. and Dana Reese Lemons. Trey was survived by sister Christina Tag and husband Gary Lieber of Edmond, Oklahoma. Shauna Hedden and husband Steve McComas of Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Brother Ryan Tinsley of Ames, Iowa. Aunt Jan Lemons Smith and husband Richard Smith of Piedmont, Oklahoma. Maternal grandmother Betty Lemons of Oklahoma City. Paternal grandparents Clifford and Helen Reese of Bridge City, Texas. Aunt Deanna and husband Billy Krull of Bridge City, Texas. Aunt Jane and husband Guy Cordell of Houston, Texas. Nephew Logan Reese and his fiancee Kat of Luther, Oklahoma. Ariel Hedden of Ames, Iowa. Nieces Lacey Hedden of Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, and Amber Hedden of Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. And I'm told to say numerous great nieces and nephews. Trey was preceded in death by brother Lance Jared Tinsley and maternal grandfather Abe Lemons. Let's pray. God, may the words of my mouth and meditations of my heart be pleasing to you. O God, my rock and my redeemer. God, give me the words to say. Without you, my words are worthless, meaningless, falling to the ground and bearing no fruit. Jesus, bring peace where there is none. Bring hope to replace despair. Bring your healing touch to repair the broken hearts. God, open hearts that are close to you. Amen. Well, my name is Joey Morse. I've known Trey for about 20 years now. If that doesn't make me feel extremely old. I used to live with Trey and his parents, actually, a few years out of high school. Trey and his family, they took me in when I was a single daddy. My parents lived on the East Coast. I didn't have anywhere else to go. I'm not even sure Trey asked his mom. I'm pretty sure the conversation went like this. Oh man, you don't have a place to stay? Come live with us. I'm sure my parents won't mind. And Trey was right. They fed me. They gave me a roof over my head. But most of all, they loved me like their own. For that, I'm eternally grateful. Thank you. When I lived with Trey, he taught me many important things like how to use crew fiber. It's like hair gel. Trey taught me that if you carefully add product, and you roll it around on your fingertips, and you twist, you add product, and you twist, and carefully was the biggest key to this. And if anybody knew Trey, you know his hair was always perfect. I remember one time he took me to one of Aaron's mom's, it was like a photo shoot they did for the hair salons. And Trey was like, yeah, man, you know, we went and we got these clothes, they gave them to us for free and stuff. Dude, he killed it, you know, and for me, they were like, yeah, you better stay over there. But Trey, yeah, come in here, you got perfect hair. He taught me how to make chicken salad with Walmart rotisserie chicken, light mayo, and mustard, and a couple pinches of curry. I quickly learned about chicken bacon ranch on flatbread. We had that like every day. But I also learned how to be not so serious all the time. I've always been somewhat of a deep thinker and prone to insecurities and depression. maybe even a pessimist at times, but Trey, he was exactly the opposite. He taught me how if you can get someone to joke around with you, then you can earn favor with them almost immediately. Especially when trying to sell signs to him. He worked with me with fast signs for a while. I had been doing this prepaid legal convention downtown for a while, and one year I asked Trey, I said, man, do you want to make a few extra bucks? And of course, he said yes. And let's say that he left that weekend with about 3 times as many sales as me, and actually 3 times as many sales as all the other sales reps that have been doing it for 10, 15 years, and they were pretty angry at Trey. So I asked a lot of you if you could describe Trey in a few words. What would those words be? And you said this: he was considerate, warm-hearted, and entertaining, freaking hilarious, spanky. He, Dana and Kip will remember. I don't know what that means. Humble and warm-hearted, spontaneous, special, compassionate, loving, and accepting of anyone and everyone he met. He was comforting. He would always listen to you when you needed a friend. He was hilarious, awesome, big teddy bear, kind-hearted and admirable. I'm sorry, this is terrifying. Trey was stinking popular. He got around to about every group of people you can imagine. The 300 members to Trey's prayer page, 60 posts I saw almost every morning for the past 5 weeks, which is a full-time job, by the way. And I even had enough, believe me, it was my honor. But there's about 100 private messages that I received from Trey, from Trey's friends and family, asking about Trey, looking for comfort. And all of that told me the same thing, that Trey had touched so many lives, including my own. Even later on in life, when Trey struggled with addiction, he still touched so many people's lives in a powerful way. One of my favorite scriptures is 2 Corinthians 12. It says, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." Wasn't that true in Trey's life? Even in Trey's weakest time, God was still so powerful through him. Amen? So I sat outside ICU with Kip a few weeks ago, and Kip told me that Trey gave his life to Christ when he was around 12 years old at a Falls Creek retreat. Kip had many talks with Trey about his salvation. I'm so grateful for that. Thank you, Kip. Trey also told Kip that he was a Christian but didn't act like a Christian sometimes. I'm so glad that he said that to you. And I'm so glad that I heard it, because we all need to hear that today. Amen? None of us act like Christians to the fullest extent, and we all have those things in our lives that aren't Christ-like. But we can't view our relationship and other relationships with Jesus off acts alone. Only Jesus was perfect. Only Jesus will ever be perfect. We will mess up. We will do things that we don't want to do, and we will fall short. Romans 3:23, it says this: "For all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God." Trey fell short sometimes, but it didn't keep him down. And it didn't even keep him from knowing Jesus daily in a personal way, and it didn't keep him from continuously trying to make the right decisions. Trey was a fighter. Sometimes when people die, we're left with hopelessness, confusion, anger. We're even mad at God. But when someone dies that has hope through a relationship with Jesus, it still hurts and it still leaves a void. No doubt. We're still even mad at God, but that's okay. God's got big shoulders to handle our anger and to handle our questions. But when a Christian dies, it does something different, peculiar even. Oddly enough, it even eventually creates a welling up of joy and peace and even anticipation and hope for what's ahead of us after this temporary life here on earth is over. That we will see our loved ones again. That we will see Trey again. When Trey passed, I went straight home from the hospital. And I walked into my empty home. Britt was still at work. And I wept. And I wept, and I wept, and I wept some more. Because I wanted so bad for Trey to be here with me, with us on earth. I wanted so bad for Trey to be here to change other people's lives with his story. Honestly, I would much rather be officiating his wedding than his funeral. I would much rather watch him settle down with a wife and kids. I wanted to see God's provision and healing heal Trey so I could brag on God's strength. I would rather have had a party to celebrate how God saved Trey's life here on earth instead of planning a cookout to remember. Does that mean that we can't brag on God? Might be a question you're asking yourself. The answer is absolutely not. God still gave Trey 100% healing. He did. Just like we all have been praying for so long. But that healing took place in a way different way than we thought. His healing took place in heaven, not here on earth. He healed our Trey when Trey took off his old, broken, worn out, tattered body, much like taking off an old work uniform. And he stepped into a new body, a heavenly body. And this isn't wishful thinking. This isn't something that I'm just saying to make you feel better in this moment. This is God's word. 2 Corinthians 5, 1 and 2. For we know that when this earthly tent we live in is taken down, that is, when we die and we leave this earthly body, we will have a house in heaven. An eternal body made for us by God himself and not by human hands. We grow weary in these present bodies, and we long to put on our heavenly bodies like new clothing. God's name is lifted up through Trey's life, guys, and even his death. How much more can we brag on the name of the Lord now for the work that he's done through Trey's life and through his friends and family, that he left a residual, eternal effect on?